What is going on, my beautiful people, and welcome back to the channel. I'm not going to say welcome back to another reaction because we're not reacting. A couple days ago, I shared my thoughts on JDF's passing. And I'll put a link in the description on my podcast, the TNA Nerdcast, with my friend Anthony. We talked about it as well, but I wanted to kind of get more in depth on my feelings about it. It's kind of hard for me to talk about. It's a little bit easier for me to do it now, but at the time it was harder. It's not a secret that I am a huge Red Ranger fan. Austin St. John is my he is my Power Ranger. He's my hero, and everybody else's hero was Tommy. But there was a time in my life where Tommy was, he was the Ranger to be. But every single time I did a costume as a kid, I was Red Ranger, and then I was Gold Ranger. And it's weird. It's looking back on it now, it's very weird because this is hitting me in a different spot than what I thought it would hit when Billy, I believe he's pronounced his name Kometz, I think that's how you say his last name. When he passed away, he was the voice of Now for Me and a couple other characters. He voiced Ferdinand in Fire Emblem Three Houses, and but I loved his portrayal of Now for Me because Shield Hero is one of my favorite animes, and I'm getting into the light novel right now, and a little bit of the manga, and season 1 anyways. Season 2 I've only watched one episode. It's hard for me to watch that, but that hit me really hard. I cried. I haven't really cried a whole lot with this death, and it's because it's hitting me in a different way than I really thought that it would. The way I put it is there is an emptiness there. When I cry, it's hurt. I'm not so much hurt as I feel empty. I feel like there's a part of me that is now gone, and I just kind of wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit more of who Jason David Frank was for me. He, at the time, after Austin St. John left the show, he ended up becoming my favorite character. For a lot of people, when he came in as green and joined the team and came back as white, he became everybody's favorite character. For me, until Jason left, Jason was my favorite character, and then Tommy. This is very confusing because Tommy's real name is Jason David Frank. Jason's real name is Austin St. John, so it gets confusing. But Power Rangers for me, because I was born in this tiny family of a mom who had a daughter. That marriage ended badly, got a divorce. My mom got into a relationship with a dude, had a baby. My older sister, he ended up hightailing it. And then my mom met my dad, had me. They were married for a little bit. Then they split. And my dad's been in my life. So my dad's still around. The point of the story is I have step siblings, but I'm close to my stepsister, not so much to my stepbrother. And so I didn't really grow up with brothers. I have a younger brother who's adopted, but he didn't come to the picture until later on. So growing up, I was by myself, only boy. And so what happened with Mighty Morphin, and why it's so special to me, and why Jason is so why the character Jason is so special, I'll say John, is because he was like a big brother to me. And when he left the show, Tommy filled that void. Gotta keep in mind, I was like 2-3 years old when Mighty Morphin came out, and then I kept watching reruns over and over and over again And then I watched, Turbo, Zeo Turbo Space, and I kept watching it. But Mighty Morphin and that Mighty Morphin to Turbo Part 1, those people were like family. They were like the big brothers and sisters I didn't have, because my oldest sister wasn't there. My older sister was there, but she was going through teenage stuff. She's 6 years older than me, so like we were close, but not like we weren't at the same things all the time. So this is what I had, and I got bullied on at school for it. And this definitely, like, Power Rangers meant a lot. So Jason, or Tommy, ended up becoming that new older brother figure. And looking back on it, I didn't realize how much Tommy meant to me, and he meant a lot to me. And looking back on it, I didn't realize how much Jason David Frank meant to me, but he meant a lot to me. And he really meant a lot to me when he came back in Dino Thunder. I remember specifically, because my dad had cable, but my mom didn't, and I lived with my mom. And I went over to my dad's one day, and I think it was JetX at the time, and a commercial came up for it, and I just saw the new Rain. It was like a new Power Ranger season. Didn't know a whole lot about it because I was still watching Ninja Storm, and I just remember all of a sudden seeing Tommy there, and I was like, "Wait a minute, whoa, what is Tommy doing here?" And then when it premiered on ABC Kids, that's when I was able to watch it, and I was like, "Yo, Tommy's in this season." That's crazy, because I think JetX was a few episodes ahead of ABC Kids. And so I just remember I got so excited. And Tommy and Ethan are my favorite Dino Thunder Rangers. I love all 5 of them, but Tommy and Ethan are my favorite Dino Thunder Rangers. And so really for me, him coming back as Dr. O was even more. It was like your brother goes off to war and then he comes back and your big brother's there. Same feeling with Forever Red when they both came back and then Jason showed up. That's how it felt like. Like my older brother came back from war and I'm seeing him again like for the first time in a long time. And really looking back on it, I have to say that I think that that's what I'm feeling. There is a literal part of me, somewhere in my spirit or something, that is missing. And the more I talk, the more I understand why. It's because Jason David Frank filled a void. Austin St. John filled a void. He left the show. Jason David Frank filled that void for him. And then Austin came back, and I had both of them. Then Austin left, and then Jason left. And then it was like, okay, I love Power Rangers. I'm still watching it. There's not really a character I relate to besides TJ. We'll talk about it another time. Selwyn's my boy. But as the show went on, and then returns for he returns for Wild Force for Forever Red, and then comes back for Dino Thunder, and led that team as a mentor. And I think that's why I love Dino Thunder so much. It's because of Tommy. And because of JDF. And I remember him talking about how he had to cover up his tattoos, and that's why he wore a lot of long sleeves, because they didn't want his tattoos showing. And then coming back years later from Megaforce. And I really enjoyed his cameo at the beginning of that episode, and then he showed up as Green. So he had Saba, and then he showed up as Green Ranger, and it just felt weird. And then he showed up for Dimensions in Danger a couple years later. And going back and watching that episode, I actually enjoyed Dimensions in Danger just a little bit more than Grid Connection. Because Grid Connection, man. But I will say Dimensions in Danger, like, capped off JDF's story. What the heck is going on there? I'll have to get that on my keyboard. But yeah, it really... I think it tied his story together nicely. Bringing back Falcon Zor one last time. Seeing him as a White and Green Ranger and the Black Ranger, and maybe Zeo Ranger 5 as well. I don't know if we saw him in Turbo. I don't think we saw him in Turbo Ranger. I don't think they ever plan on him becoming Red Turbo again. Maybe he does Soul Dragon. I've not read that yet. I need to. But yeah. And then Battle for the Grid. Like, that's a Tommy story. Like, the comics do Tommy so well. And I think in the past couple of years, I will tell you, 2013, I got to meet JDF at a Comic-Con. I waited about an hour in line. Very excited to meet him. I was nervous. Go up there. He asked me how my day was. He was running late himself. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" And I was like, "I'm doing really good. I'm really good. I've got this print. I want you to sign it. Can we get a picture?" Yeah. And I might make that the thumbnail of this video. I don't know. But we I was wearing a different version of this shirt. Man, it's starting to do the same thing. No. But yeah, I remember I had my Red Ranger hat on, and like we did like the whole pose thing, and that was it. I didn't really get to talk to him a whole lot. There was a long line, plus I was nervous and I walked away, and I couldn't get back in line. Like with Austin, when I met Austin, I was able to get back in line and talk to him after the fact. But with this one, it was so much long of a line, I couldn't really talk to him. And I think I'm like in a very small clip of my Morphin life, but that's what I got. And after that, I remember just for some reason I put it in my head that I was like, man, he kind of just pushed me through the line and yada, yada, yada. And for a long time, I believed that. I believed that he had just pushed me through the line like I was just another number. And I have to realize that I kind of did that to myself. I pushed myself through the line, and I regret that. I regret the opportunity to talk to him more because I've been able to talk to Jason Font, been able to talk a little bit to Steve Cardenas, talked to Austin twice. I've got to talk to Johnny Young Bosch. I think that's all that I've met Ranger wise. But I've been able to talk to all those people, and for some reason with JDF, I panicked. And so now it's, even though I got to meet him, it was an opportunity that I could have had to talk to him, and unfortunately I didn't. I'm sorry if I clapped right in front. Sorry. But that's a memory I have, and I remember some of the live streams back in the day, and one of my favorite videos, Johnny Young Bosch shared it the other day, is he had this character he would do that was a crazy fan of Johnny Young Bosch and would stalk him, and I just loved it. I remember watching it the very first time he released it and just died laughing when he was like, Johnny, the way he said it was Johnny Young Bosch, but he was like, Johnny Young Bosch, that's right. It was like, I loved it. I loved everything about it. And yeah, I didn't realize how much that man who I met for 5 minutes meant to my life growing up. Because again, I've talked to Austin twice. I've interacted with him on Facebook. I say at this point I'm friends with people who work with him. With what I said, Frank, it's like that opportunity is no longer there, and that was my own fault that it wasn't there. I wish I could have met him more, and I think personally because of that I'm mad at myself because I put this stigma in my head that, again, he pushed me through the line. I was just another number of a fan. He didn't really care. And when I look back on that memory, I regret not talking to him more when I had that opportunity. We're doing Legacy coming up, the audio drama of that. We're doing the prologue, and I get to voice Jason, the character, and Anthony's going to be voicing Tommy, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we treat those characters that we're putting in. We're taking them and putting them in our hands, and we're going to be like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to respect. Like, I'm even changing the story of Legacy up to honor Jason David Frank, because I'm telling you right now, Tommy was supposed to be the villain, not because of anything, because I love Tommy, but it's because this story I had developed, and I think we're gonna fix that a little bit, and we're going to make sure we show the legacy of Jason David Frank, and we show the legacy of any other Ranger from the original series, because we don't want to do things wrong. And so I'm looking at myself. You guys are right there, so it's very, but I do have a lot of regret, and I didn't realize it till now. And I think it's like I feel an emptiness, because I know if something were to ever happen to Austin, I would be very devastated. And that might lead me to cry. I'm not saying I'm not crying for JDF. I'm crying internally, but the tears started to come out the other day, and they're not coming out anymore. For Austin, it's gonna be a crap show, for sure, for me. And it's because I've gotten to know Austin a little bit more. And again, this goes back to regret that I did not take the initiative to stay and talk to the man for 5 more minutes. I didn't take the initiative to keep going with how much I looked up to that guy. I wanted to actually, I remember emailing him back in 2003 with one of his studios, and just seeing like, how can you sign up to become a student? That's what I wanted to become a student. And I never heard anything back, but I just remember, that's a memory that I have of just wanting to meet Jason David Frank, to be under his wing, essentially, and that'll never happen. And so yeah, I think that's really where I'm feeling. And I sat and I watched some episodes of Tommy, and I realized that I love the character of Tommy Oliver, and for some reason I decided for a long time that I didn't care for him anymore. And that is something I gonna have to get over and realize that, yeah, maybe Tommy Oliver is my second favorite Ranger. Never be Jason, but yeah, it's just a weird, this is kind of more me thinking out loud, but I don't know. But let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you have any regrets about maybe never meeting him? Maybe you met him and maybe you were like me and you got nervous and you just kind of got the signature of the picture and you took off. Or maybe you got to meet him and have those memories. Meet him several times, because he was so good to his fans. He loved everybody. So, anyways, I'm going to get out of here.